tourist perspective.
2022 was one of the most tumultuous years for cryptocurrencies since the conception of Bitcoin 15 years ago. Looking at how decentralized financial markets were performing over the last 12 months was like watching the electrocardiogram of a patient being treated for amphetamine addiction. And that, of course, is whether you can even get your head behind how cryptocurrencies work. Without going into the nuts and bolts of the cryptographic techniques that allow people to buy, sell, and trade virtual cash online, the bottom line is that unlike traditional currencies that are underwritten by national governments, cryptos circulate without a monetary authority or central bank. Like all revolutions, however, it brings chaos and opportunity in equal measure. And like all revolutions, it devours its own children. In 2022, we witnessed the collapse of 7 cryptocurrency platforms, the most notorious being the bankruptcy of FTX and the arrest of its 30-year-old founder and CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried. In this edition of Paris Perspective, I'm joined by Raphael Bloch, co-founder and editor-in-chief of The Big Whale, a Paris-based publication dedicated to decrypting cryptos, blockchains, and all things non-fungible. Raphael, thank you for inviting me to your offices today.
Thank you, David.
Well, let's start with a brief history of The Big Whale. What is your mission?
Our mission is to empower people on Web3. You know that now it's a big subject. We're talking about Bitcoin, NFTs, blockchain. And I was previously working for main media. I worked for Reuters, also Les Echos and L'Express. And with my co-founders, who was working also for a big media, we decided to launch a truly Web3 company. And our mission, once again, is to enable people to understand what's the Web3 and what's the future is going to be with those engineers and also technologies.
Why The Big Whale? Why the name?
It's a good question. We decided to choose The Big Whale for several reasons. The first one is that we usually hear that Web3 is like a big ocean of info, and people want to understand what's going on in this big ocean. So we decided to choose The Big Whale because we want to be the big part in the ocean. The second one is that, a whale in the crypto market is like a big financial investor. So it's like a gimmick for a crypto fan. They understand that we're, deep involved in the crypto space. And the third one is that, I don't know if you know, but a whale is a big, carbon conservative organism. And they are equal of a forest. A whale can retain something like 1,000 trees, of carbon. So it's a big footprint, and that's why we want to, outline the fact that Web3 need to be more ecological.
Ecological, indeed,
yes.
Because, with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency,
yes.
one of the main things is the amount of power
yes.
that it sucks out when
yes.
you want to go mining for the currency. Now, you're mentioning Web3. This is the next big thing. But before... I grew up with the very basic web in the mid-1990s. Then, of course, we had the dot-bomb. Then we had Web 2.0. So Web 3 is the next big thing.
Yep.
So for me, who's getting an older generation, I would like to ask about, is there a personality profile of people who invest in cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Actually, and we have almost 20,000 subscribers. It's mostly... young generation. When I say young generation is mostly under 35, but it's also white collar. People who want to just simply be able to invest their money in the crypto ecosystem and to invest in the Web3 technology. So it's mostly young and white collar, and also it's mostly men versus women, even if we can see more and more women involved in this space.
Now, as an outsider, you're saying that you have, white-collar people who are investing it, maybe small sums, maybe anything from 5% to 10% of their salary, depending how much. There's an expression in English, they like having a flutter. That's like taking a bet. When I first heard of cryptocurrencies and looking into the world of crypto, it reminded me of the concept of Las Vegas. Casinos with different non-transferable chips, vying to be at the top of the pile with all the gamblers coming in, into a desert city that didn't exist and sprung out of nowhere. And that was just there because it exploited Arizona's unregulated gambling laws. Is that a fair comparison? Is this a Wild West adventure?
Yeah, no, I see your point, but actually, and I'm in this space for 6 or 7 years, it was the case going back, in 2016 or even 17. But right now, it's not a casino or Las Vegas. You're right in the way that, it's a new space with no rules, but actually in Europe and also in the US or in Asia, countries and governments are working on legislation. So it's not a no rules land. So you have legislation, you have also legit investors, also companies, startups, in Europe. You have a lot of unicorns. So it's not, it's no more a casino, and it's not only a matter of, individuals investing in this space.
Now, indeed, 2022 really kind of highlighted that crypto El Dorado does not guarantee success for everyone, as the industry is so very interconnected. I mean, there have been domino effects, and this happens in any financial market when people panic buy or panic sell.
Remember 2008?
Exactly. Yes. Everybody wanted to get their cash, and even be it virtual or real. Now, when FTX hit that brick wall with liquidity issues and collapsed in November, there were consequences for, I think it's 20,000 plus 22,000, I think, is the latest count of how many cryptocurrencies are actually in circulation, who saw all of their, it means anything from 19 to 22, they rise and fall. It's a hard one to keep a track of. But most of their value plummeted. Has it rebounded since 3 months ago?
Yes. And you know why? It's simply because FTX was only a fraud. I mean, obviously, it had an impact on the market, but it's only a matter of a fraud of a man. So obviously, it had an impact on other companies. And in the last 2 days, Genesis also, go bankrupt, and they are under the 11th chapter in the US. So it had a big impact. But on the market, people know that it's only a matter of fraud. So they didn't leave the market, they just sold a part of their investments, but they know that it's going to be, in the next year or maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see again like a bull market. So
that's right. It was a bear market. It was a kind of a sleeping bear market that was over the last 12 months. But this brings me to the question: as an investor, how do you know how to trust or who to trust in in a crypto world that's becoming more crowded by big players?
Just maybe one precision. So I'm a journalist. I have only 3,000 euros of crypto. It's Bitcoin and Ethereum. And at the Big Whale, we don't invest in the crypto space because we want to be independent, and we want to keep our independence to write on whatever we want. And it's a really good question. We know that in the crypto space, it's really hard to know who you can rely on. There are so many companies, projects, which are telling, people on Twitter, on the social networks that they shouldn't miss, the next big thing. And it's why we launched the Big Whale. It's not to be, the sheriff in the Far West, but it's only to give neutral and accurate info on projects and also exchange and companies.
Now, you brought it up in the beginning there that, Web3 is really looking to become much more carbon neutral, is really looking into environment to get rid of data centers to make sure that the data crunching capacity isn't going to be sucking the electricity out of the grid. But the other thing that kind of comes to mind is, the next big thing, as you're saying. What is the next big thing? One of the things that came on the radar in my book last year was NFTs. Now, personally, I just got a giggle out of the title. This is the non-fungible tokens. But to be honest, for an old hack like me, at a first glance or a virtual glance, it looked like the equivalent of the emperor's new clothes. Am I being completely wrong and too cynical of what the next big thing is going to be? Are non-fungible tokens going to be a real, tangible thing, even though they're non-tangible?
No. On this point, I disagree for one simply reason, is that obviously NFTs are not a revolution in the way that they are not. They will not change the world. But I'm deeply convinced, and at the Big Whale we launched our own NFT collection, so 2022 whales, because it can, it allows us to create a new relationship with the community, with the subscribers. We can interact with them, we can push info through the NFTs. It will not change the world, but it will change the economical landscape. It will also allow companies to change their business. So in this way, I think that it could be the next big thing.
But is this essentially just another way of investing money and hoping that it will appreciate?
Yeah, no, it's not only a new way of investing. It's also a new way of connecting people exchanging information, also services and so on. So it's, it's a big thing in the way that, in Europe, many companies are working on those NFTs because they know that in the future it will be a big game changer for them nice tool to interact with their customers.
Now, again, I'm going back to analog and old school, where you say, okay, people, if they want to have a long-term investment, there are tax breaks in it, they could invest in art.
Yeah.
At least if you buy artwork, you can hang it on your wall.
Yeah.
NFTs. I think there was a guy who bought the first SMS that was ever sent. How do you hang
also
that?
the first tweet.
The first tweet.
So yeah.
So how do you use this as a kind of a centerpiece for your collection?
No, it's an excellent question. To be honest, I don't have so many NFTs, and they are very cheap. But you know that art in the history has evolved a lot. Obviously, I really like, the traditional painting and so on. We have the Louvre in Paris with so many beautiful things. So the physical art is very important, but you can't, only go through the digital art by saying, okay, no, it's only a fashion, it will pass away, fad in 1 or 2 years. No. You have, truly artists who's working on NFTs, and they can put on the wall their creation. It could be a paint, also a draw. So it's, art is always evolving.
Okay, so it's going to be evolving, you think, exponentially in Web3.
Yes, of course.
Now,
it's a new way of creating.
It's a new way. Well, you're talking about how Web3 is going to be evolving, and you did bring up there that it's not the Wild West, it's not Arizona in the 1940s and 50s where the casinos were all coming in, but it is like, with stock markets, with horse racing, once you get your head around the intricacies of the system, taking a bet on a currency that could appreciate by 1,000% must be like catnip for gamblers. Is it addictive? Have there been any casualties that you've encountered?
Yeah, no, you're right on this point. We know that many people are addicts on crypto, but this is the same on gambling. But in a bear market, it's quite different. People had invested a lot of money. Some of them lost a lot of money. Others, won a lot of money. And it's financial markets. I don't know if you saw that Meta, Google, Amazon dropped something like 40, 50, 60% in Wall Street.
Yeah.
So it's a strange period in the way that markets are very very disturbing.
Volatile. At the end
volatile.
Of the time.
It's very hard to know what's going to be, Wall Street or the Bitcoin price in the next 6 months. So,
well, it kind of brings me back to the 17th century, the tulip craze that went on in the Netherlands over.
It's always.
You never know. The space of 3-4 years where everybody was buying everything just for even a cut of a bulb of tulips, and then it just completely collapsed. But with anything, and you said one of the key things as well that has attracted people to cryptocurrency and NFTs is the being freed from the shackles of a centralized authority. But as an unregulated currency, what are the implications for hiding criminal assets through cryptos, arms trade, drugs, human trafficking even? Like, there are obviously plenty of opportunities that can be exploited by criminals here.
I'd like to say that of course, you can find, criminals and others in the crypto space because, you can use crypto to laundering money with ransomware. You can hack a company and ask for Bitcoin or other crypto, and it could be a good way. But I need to say that the best way to launder money is to use cash. Physical cash.
Still is.
Yes, of course. And numbers are very clear on this topic. The best way to launder money is to use cash. It's not to use crypto because you can find who received the money with the blockchain. So it's not the best idea to use crypto to hack a company or to launder money.
Bringing into this is the blockchain word now, just to explain, not wanting again to go to the nuts and bolts. Blockchains are the backbone of cryptos, and essentially, if I'm right, they're basically like an open ledger that prevent people from spending what their acquisitions are twice. But as with everything, the whole heart of a blockchain is to make sure that it's unhackable and that it's secure.
Yes.
Are they unhackable?
Good question. Bitcoin was created in 2009, so it's almost 15 years, as you said previously. Zero, no hack.
Really?
But
is that just because of Bitcoin itself, the way that was structured, or the other cryptocurrencies?
No. We are talking about hack, but it's not on the blockchain. It's on the exchange.
Okay.
You can take every cases. Mangox in 2014. You can take Quadriga. You can take. All the main case are not on blockchain and crypto. It's on the middleman.
Gotcha.
It's the exchange.
Broker.
The broker. And that's the pain point in this industry. You don't have, the authority and, the government to save you when you are in the mess. So it rely on exchange, so on the middleman, and that's the weak point in this industry.
Got you. This now brings me to the whole concept of regulation. I know that France is looking to put through regulation. Europe is looking to put through regulation. There's the setting up of maybe a French, but the Chinese have refused to have any cryptocurrency unless they're going to build it themselves.
Yeah, they are officially refused. You know that they are mining in.
Got you. Yeah. Now you've got places like I think El Salvador was the first country to ever actually say that crypto can be a legal tender in the country. You also see an explosion in Africa because fintech and I think Web3 is going to be huge in Africa. But you have states such as the Central African Republic that are really getting behind this.
Yes.
Who do you trust in this market? And will the investors in an unregulated market actually have the same amount of trust in a regulated market, be it European, Central American, or West African?
It's, I think that this is one of the main questions for this ecosystem. We are talking about the Web3 ecosystem, but there are, 3, 4, maybe 5 Web3 ecosystem. You can find one in Asia, also one in Africa, one in Europe. There are different legislation, different companies, different paradigm. So it's hard to say which one you should trust and in which one you should invest. But it's like a competition. You have collaboration between companies in Africa and Europe, South America. I went to Argentina. I spent 2 weeks in Buenos Aires. It was really amazing to see how Argentinians are using crypto. It's really different from Europe. In Europe, it's more for investments. In Africa or South America, it's more for banking people. Because you know that half of the Argentinians have no bank accounts.
And same in Africa, the bank charges are so high that people just go forget it.
It's only for rich people. So they are using crypto to bank themselves. And it's very interesting to see how it works. In Europe, in Ireland, in England, in Germany, we have banks. We have big banks. We have a strong financial system. So it's not using in the same way. It's more for investments, for sovereign identity, sovereign control of your wealth. So it's quite different.
So, I mean, and in developing economies, it could be very much business to business, person to person as well. I mean, I know from in East Africa, they have a system called M-Pesa.
Yes, M-Pesa, I know M-Pesa.
Which we used all the time when I used to live there. You'd be able to send it from, and if you were in the middle of the Serengeti, you'd be able to send it to your friend in Arusha.
It's very efficient,
Exactly. And then there was a big deal where, they're setting up a similar thing in Europe about 2 years ago. And I was like, this has existed in Africa since 2009. So it's quite interesting to see that the bigger economies are also catching up to the more clued in emerging economies because they can see the opportunity. And indeed, this is what I would like to end our conversation on today, is how you see the opportunities or cryptocurrencies evolving over the next 10 years. That's a long distance to look. But what do you think that we can expect in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that we can expect massive adoption. I don't know if you are familiar with the internet curve adoption, but it's very, very interesting to see how it's similar. I mean, back in the 90s, I don't want to be inaccurate, but I think that it was something like 250 millions of people in 1997 that were using internet, and it's probably the same for the crypto. I'm sure that in the next year, so I can't give a number, but I'm sure that this adoption, curve adoption will be the same. So probably in 10 years, we're going to see massive adoption with probably billions of users, especially in Africa, Asia, and South America, because I think that Europe will maybe miss the train by over-regulating the ecosystem.
One could say that the internet curve adoption in France was quite low because of Minitel. Exactly, that's the old adage.
Yes.
Well, let's see. Indeed, so it is going to be a roller coaster ride, and we will see if that internet curve adoption is the same as it was over the first 10 years of internet in its inception. Raphael Bloch, co-founder and editor-in-chief of The Big Whale, thank you for speaking to me today on Paris Perspective.
Thank you.
And thank you for logging on. As always, you can get our back catalogue of Paris Perspective on rfienglish.com/podcasts, and indeed wherever you get your podcasts. Talk to you soon.